Bom dia, bem-vindos à sessão dos projetos portugueses. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the so-called Portuguese Project sessions. I'm going to invite right away the speakers of this session, and then I'll have a small introduction. First of all, I'll invite Isabel, that you'll know already as our dedicated moderator since yesterday, since the outset of the summit. She is now taking a new role as a presenter in this session. Let me call Fábio Coelho from Inesctec, César Toscano, also from Inesctec, and a last-minute reinforcement, Ana Alonso, also from Inesctec, that will be helping Fábio with his presentation. While they are sitting, let me just tell you that, well, thank you. While they are sitting, let me just tell you that these three projects that we have invited are all related to our Recovery and Resilience Program. And for us, the Recovery and Resilience Program has been a part of our imagination for doing our work as Gaia-X up in Portugal. These are projects that had a significant amount of money. These are projects that had objectives to achieve. And so they were a playing field for us to intervene and for us to influencing them with the ideas from Gaia-X. Of course, that some of these projects were established back in 2021. And at that point in time, probably that we had mainly concepts. We didn't have that much to deliver. But we made also an effort during 2023 addressing, I'll never forget, 39 projects and having 96 meetings with people, with the entities involved in our Recovery and Resilience projects, so that we explained to them what was Gaia-X, and so that we would try to influence them on adoption and on using what Gaia-X was developing. And now, without further delay, let me ask Isabel Borges, my colleague at TIS.pt, to make the presentation regarding one of our projects that is called Espaço Dados X, Data Spaces X.
Thank you so much, Antonio, and you might recognize me well. As Antonio said, now I'm presenting a project that is very important to me. A project where the power of collaboration proved to be stronger than the power of competition. So all of you in this room knows that data is increasing, and is increasing at a huge pace, right? So not only because we have lots of devices connected to the internet, smartphones and even IoT, but also because raw data give rise to more processed data, and also the use of AI, as was stated in the previous talking, is also giving rise to more data, even synthetic data also. So everyone in this room also knows that we are not taking the real value of data, right? Because there are a lot of inhibiting factors, and we already listened for some of them. The lack of interoperability, the lack of automation, the lack of transparency, the lack of sovereignty, and also because we have hyperscalers that we cannot compete with, mainly North American and Asian hyperscalers. So I asked ChatGPT what were the biggest hyperscalers that we have, and on that circle over there you may see the answer of ChatGPT. So there is no European platform between them. The solution that we preconize in Europe was the federated infrastructure. So many little data spaces, many little clouds, when federated, could be a big cloud, right? And with that knowledge, we also give have all the ingredients, but we do not have funding, right? So the money is important, mainly because our main companies in Europe, but in Portugal worst, are SMEs and micro enterprises, right? So we have not the power to join them and to say, it's now time that you share your data. No, they don't understand that, and they have not the maturity level to do that. So it's not surprising for all on this room that when a new funding line for testbed initiatives were launched under the Recovery and Resilience Plan, as Antonio said, TICE.PT seized the opportunity to create a testbed. And that testbed wants to deploy infrastructure aligned with Gaia-X and IDSA, in the sense that we can make available such infrastructures to our SMEs, or startups, or other national or international companies to test their products and services and raise the technology readiness level from 5 to 6, 7, 8, 9, okay? But the minimum level is TRL 5. And we challenge our main communication service providers to be together on this test bed. So the name of my presentation, because we, for the first time in Portugal, we will putting together Altis Labs, with Altis Labs, NOS, IP Telecom, and Vodafone, all working together to solve problems that they have with the leadership of SOMA, because no one wants to that other big guy lead him, and with this as a facilitator for the Gaia-X and IDSA alignment. So, in brief, we take advantage of the RRP Portuguese initiative, and we make available to test, to experiment, to innovate over our infrastructures. Our aim is that there are clear business value, that we can low entry barriers for our enterprises, SMEs and micro enterprises, and that we have a trust, sovereignty, ecosystem access for all of them. Okay, what services are available on our testbed? Four main types of services. Experimentation, when we have joint groups of joint teams coming from the CSPs and the participating enterprises. We have that together we'll check for infrastructure configuration service, assess Gaia-X compliance, development and assess of data spaces. We have also testing opportunities where a specialized team from the CSPs can help the companies and the SMEs to test hands-on with them together. And we have demonstration also services that will facilitate showcasing use cases to the rest of SMEs and companies, and training where we select SMEs and startup use cases to train and then to cascade this training over those who are with us. So what are our KPIs or key performance indicators. So we must, this project will end on June next year. So till then, we must have 43 pilots working and running. So it's a huge task for us, and mainly because we will deploy our infrastructure till the end of this year. So 6 months to put all the things running and testing. These testbed pilots will increase innovation, will increase the secure data sharing, and will demonstrate that we can support the internationalization of our companies. And to conclude, I would like to emphasize that this testbed is open to everyone, and that together we are building a digital ecosystem where data works for everyone. If you would like more information, you can visit the Gaia-X website or to scan the QR code. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Fabio Coelho. I'm a senior researcher from Inesctec, together with my colleague Ana Alonso, also senior researcher and also professor at the Minho University. Today, we would like to brief you also about Inesctec. Inesctec is the largest RTO in Portugal with more than 1,000 collaborators, and within our expertise, we do have a lot of expertise in the data interoperability part, modeling systems, interoperability of systems, and this is why we were a key player in the beginning of the consortium of the ATE project. So the ATE project, or the Alliance for the Energy Transition, is currently one of the largest agendas within the post-COVID resilience plan here, based in Portugal. It is a large consortium that we can see at the core, starting with some companies in the utility sectors, in the energy sector, pairing up with also service providers and RTOs. So Inesctec in this case being one of them. The project itself is a very wide project. It's one of the largest agendas within the resilience plan here in Portugal. We are counting with more than 45 smaller projects. So the agenda itself is divided into smaller projects, kind of mini consortia created within the agenda itself, to try to fulfill several lacks, or try to come up with solutions for several gaps within the data side, the services side, and how we can bring companies and we equip companies with more capabilities. So there is one side of on the agenda itself which is focused on creating value. So this means creating digital platforms, creating services, enabling data sharing, but also at the same time it also has a kind of an educational side of things in which we want to equip professionals with new skills for the digital world for the decades to come. So in essence, this project was a 4-year project, okay? It is ending by June 2026 now, and together in all there was 274 million euros directly provided to some of the entities, namely Inesctec, as ones that were somehow funded 100%, and on top of that, co-investment also made by companies to directly equip and modernize their service stock. The agenda itself is expected to generate more than 500 million euros in terms of direct investment, and this comes as new value that comes from services, new products that are already being launched and taken to market, but also as an exploitation in terms of the investment that is being made on the human resources and how we can equip ourselves for the decade to come in terms of AI and use of data and interoperability itself. There has been a very large number of positions of highly skilled jobs for all of these companies. There is an expectation that at least half of these high equipped human resources will keep supporting the economy and the digital fabric within the companies in Portugal itself. For us to provide you a better scope on what the goals on the agenda. So the agenda was provided by several verticals and several horizontal the dimensions. dimensions. What we are presenting you just after this slide is one of the key enablers, the horizontal enabler of the interoperability side of things, as a digital platform that is providing services into the fabric of companies, and particularly given that this is a project mainly focused on the utilities, on the energy side, providing services to them. So with this and without further ado, we'd like to present you the Cloudia for you, which is the main enabler on this agenda. This is a digital platform that kind of puts us into the interplay between the cloud providers, the services, the data enabling, the data itself, and how we can equip the digital fabric and the companies in order to use them. In a nutshell, what we want to do is to relieve them from the burden on having DevOps and cloud engineers completely dedicated just to the role of having to use the cloud providers, having to be enabling all of the minor details on this. And so what this platform does is that it allows us to create processing pipelines, not just dedicated to AI, but of course also focusing on AI, that would help the companies and and human resources with less expertise on using the cloud providers in order to just drag and drop services, try to come up with very easy and very fast prototyping of services so that we could ingest data, process data, and collect value from the services themselves. So what we are bringing here today is an architecture and digital platform that we have provided and worked together with some of the companies, naming Engine. Engine is a company that is providing services to power transformers and to the power grid, ingesting data and trying to provide services such as preventive maintenance services, in which they are continuously sourcing data, continuously looking for faults into the systems themselves. So what we're trying to provide here is a series of services and objectives that will allow us to first provide ease of use to deploy these services. Second, provide us with interoperability services that we are not stuck with data formats, and allow us to ingest data from multiple sources, being it Kafka streams, being general APIs, or even in our platform, interoperable ecosystems such as the Gaia-X or the data spaces. So all in all, we want to provide these complex pipelines with a very easy and plug-and-play system in a way that we could somehow quickly provide interoperability and usability services. We bring you a very small demo into which you can see our platform. So we can very easily start to create services, we can create templates, and we can start to use some of the services and start to drag and drop our pipelines. So the idea is that we could start to build up from scratch these data ingestion pipelines, starting to create, for instance, the data sets that are coming from a data space connector, where we can provide where we can ingest information coming from the data space. In this case, what we are doing here is having inbound data from the energy motors and from the power grid, from the assets that we are currently monitoring, and that we can start to build a power stack, okay? So the idea is that we could ingest this data into the platform and start to deploy, for instance, in this case, a Spark cluster, into which with always this very easy and straightforward drag and drop system that we can then upload the systems in which we want to do some inference in this case. So we are deploying here our scripts in a very straightforward way, and then we will essentially deploy these on a cloud provider. Our platform is completely integrated in this case with AWS, but it's not limited to that, okay? We are using a Terraform technology underneath, which allows us to use ultimately all the three key players in terms of cloud providers, but also our own infrastructure, open stack for partners such as the ones in utilities that sometimes don't want in full to deploy their services into the cloud. At the same point, we are also providing cybersecurity expertise and also means to protect the data. So we are always in full control on how the data is provided and how we can make all of the different exchange. Finally, maybe just, Anna, if you could just present us also with a final service, because the idea for the platform is that we can host also services, and one of the services is the digital product passport.
Thank you. So the idea is that because we're talking about an agenda for the digital transition in the energy grid, we have a lot of assets that we have to take care of, to manage, to understand whether they should be replaced, how they can be recycled, and so on. So it makes perfect sense to have digital product passports for these types of equipments. They're also very subjected to regulation, both in terms of recycled material, in terms of very different environmental and not only environmental and efficiency standards that they need to comply with. So what we're doing is we're creating digital product passports for this type of equipment, which is, as far as we know, new. So our main concerns are that we need to have something that's usable, right? But we also have to have very strict concerns with interoperability and future-proofing. Because the digital product passport is a moving target, there's a lot of talk going on and different normalization and standardization initiatives. Because we're developing something now, we have to make sure that when the time comes that the standards are ready, we can adapt without having to build everything up again from scratch. One way that we do that is that we're in the implementation of Digital Product Passport, which is a service that runs on the platform, on the Cloud AI for EU platform. We are delegating much or as much as we can. So for example, we are delegating things like accessing data through a data space to the platform itself and the connectors that the platform provides for services. The other thing is that we're also delegating things like verifications, certifications, using something like verified credentials or verified claims, so that we can have an implementation that is able to cope with whatever the protocol becomes or the de facto standard becomes in establishing these types of verifications and certifications, so that, again, when we have standards, we can adapt. And again, another important part of the interoperability thing is that the data for the digital product passports for this type of equipment comes from very different sources. Some of it comes from the manufacturer, some of it comes from the user, some of it comes from the recycler, some of it comes from who does the maintenance. We have to aggregate all of these informations when we need to present a passport to a consumer that wishes to see it or a user that wishes to see it. And these come from very different systems managed by very different entities with different administrative procedures, different requirements. So again, our concern was to do something that is interoperable, that is future-proof, and that uses the platform to be able to communicate with all these different types of data sources. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be around on stand, and we can drop you a demo, so if you're interested, just come by. Thanks.
Good morning. Cesar Toscano from Inestec, the third researcher in the room. Thank you, TSPT and Gaia-X, for the invitation. It's really very important for me and for my team to be present in the Gaia-X Web Summit. I am here presenting our experience and sharing with you this project in the textiles and clothing sector. So we started more or less 3 years ago, using the knowledge and technology that at that time we had and that we were starting to know. And we have the possibility to develop this project, the TexPack, which is a big project in the textile sector, joining together a huge amount of organizations from the textile sector, also from the software and the equipment producers area, and also with the academy. And I will not present the whole project because it's too big, only a part of it, the part of it that is related with data sharing. In particular, it's what we have been calling the business information systems interoperability for the Portuguese textile sector. And why have we started this part in the project? Basically because even though we have some manufacturing execution systems implanted in the sector and ERP type of software implanted in the sector, the fact is that there is very poor data sharing. Basically, communication between companies is mainly supported by email, by unstructured data, and we thought that for the digitalization of the sector, the integration of different ERP type of softwares would benefit the entire industry, and so that's the main goal here, to look to develop a seamless data exchange infrastructure and methodology, focusing on the integration of different types of ERP software. We were able to gather in the same project the 5 most popular developers of software for the textile industry, and we are profiting very much from that fact, and so our focus has been mainly to solve this gap in the communication. Either the software that we are running our businesses, our daily businesses, they do not communicate. They never did that, even among even connecting different textile organizations supported by the same ERP sector, and also because on the textile and clothing sector we have many small entities that are not very digitized, and we are forcing our ERP developers to come with integration platforms that would offer ICT services to them and bringing them in a digital way to a new ecosystem. So we have several lines of work. One, the most important of them, is the semantic interoperability. We have heard some communications in this domain, and this is our hot topic in the project. We are profiting from the fact that we have the right experts with us, which are the ICT companies that are producing the different ERP softwares for the industry, and we also have, when needed, the knowledge from some key users on the textile companies. We are addressing a set of 7 different business processes related with the daily business, from the subcontracted fashion manufacturing to the different types of supply regarding the yarn, fabric, knitwear, and also the manufacturing of final products and components in the middle. We are not starting from scratch. We are profiting from an information model that was developed some years ago and has been improving along the years in the European context, which is the EBIS. The information model is quite big. We have almost 80 business documents with a lot of commonalities between them, but it's really a very complex information model. We are addressing the parts that are really important for the Portuguese industry in particular, and at this stage we have customized 30 of these business documents. So our job was mainly to look at the information model already existent at European level and try to select the parts that are very important for us and to customize it and create a Portuguese profile of them. This has to be done because the initial information model has, apart from being, and that's good, very broad and very complete, it has a lot of optional aspects. And the optionality here is not the right friend for the interoperability of different business information systems. So we have been trying to look at the information model and select the most important parts and identify the things that we are considered mandatory. Just a few examples without entering into the details, which is an important thing. So we have these 7 business collaboration processes in the supply chain of the industry, and on each collaboration processes we have a number of transactions. There is a sequence of transactions that are predefined, and what we are mostly doing is looking at those business documents that are exchanged in a typical electronic data interchange domain between the different software packages, ERP software. So this was about the semantic interoperability. The other, we are calling it the technical interoperability, and this is where we are adopting the data space technology and the way of sharing data. So from the beginning, we adopted a very pragmatic approach. So we convinced our ICT producers that the EDI, electronic interchange, would be the right format. And so the problem was, what could we have in the middle, linking one ERP software to another ERP software from different producers, so that the process would be completely digitized. And so we came up with this data space, which is comprised essentially by a set of data space connectors. These connectors, they were developed on top of an open source solution. And on top of that solution, we have developed an orchestrator, a supervisor that controls the way the connector works, and that provides, and this was very important for us, a very simple but effective API to the ERP to which the connector is linked, so that they only see 2 things, basically. They ask the connector to send or to receive a given document in the domain of a given collaboration process, and before that, they ask the connector to create a business partnership with another connector, because here in this first stage, we are only looking at one-to-one connections between one ERP software and another ERP software. So we have this notion of partnership that exists in reality, because companies have agreed on some partnership. Someone is supplying yarn to another company on some contractual basis, and we use this partnership to implement some or to support some of the aspects of this data space, specifically data usage policies and contracts that we create for these one-to-one connections. So at this stage, we only support connections between 2 connectors that are linked by a business relationship. We are following the traditional peer-to-peer model, so data is not located anywhere in the center. In the center, we have only 3 entities that are part of our governance. The first one is the identity provider, which works as a certification authority that is responsible for creating the digital identities, either for the connectors and for the participants that are linked to the connectors. And we have also an information system where we have the registries of all the organizations that belong to the data space, and this information is always open to all the connectors and to the ERP softwares so that everyone knows who is participating in the data space. We also have metadata brokerage. Right now, we don't have too much usage of it in the EDI scenario, but we are thinking in other more generic scenarios of data sharing where this will be very important. And we have a clearinghouse. It's the old name that we have for the element in this model, in this data space, that is responsible for keeping a copy of the data usage contracts between the connectors, and also where we are creating a log of all the transactions so that we have some metadata about how data is being sent from one organization to another. Finally, I want to call your attention to I think this was the first time we were able in Portugal to have all the ICT providers in a given industry specifying a semantic model. This was very important, and it has been working very, very, very good, even though they are competitors in the field, because all of them are producing and selling ERP softwares for the sector. They are also working on the development of inclusive solutions to cover the very small companies in the sector that don't have the possibility to have an ERP, and so they are developing integration platforms for them so that they are also part of the data space, even though their digitalization is at another level. And the third part, which are now we are now focusing in more detail, is the creation of a strategic alliance, so that when this project finishes, and it's funded by a public partnership, when this finishes, we have the right means to have a new organization that will sustain the project, that will continue and evolve our information model, addressing more cases in the semantic interoperability, perhaps exploiting this notion that we have hearing here in the conference about the usage of AI, the generative AI, for supporting the interoperability. It promises to be a very good solution. And we are now at the phase where we are involving users from the textile companies in the third last piloting phase, and we are almost taking this decision to go ahead into the business model that we have developed that will sustain the project after its ending. Thank you very much.
So we still have time for at least one question. So I'll start with Isabel and ask you if you could give us some more insights on what your project is really bringing.
Okay. Each CSP, or communication service providers, together with SOMA, is deploying its own infrastructure aligned with Gaia-X and with IDSA. For the Gaia-X side, we are using open source software available for the Loire version, and they are implementing all those services as unofficial digital clearinghouses, services for the identity provider, registry, notary, and they are also evaluating the use of Portuguese to enable, to better enable data collaboration and also to be compliant with European regulations such as Data Act or Data Governance Act or AI Act. For the IDSA part, they are implementing the minimum viable data space that they will want to implement with the rest of the participating companies, and they are looking at sovereignty. So two final notes to finish. What I really want at the end of this project is that one of the CSPs involved, or more, or all, can have an official digital clearinghouse. And also, the main actor in this project are SMEs. So we want that with this project we reduce the barriers so that they can learn the advantages of taking data and work with data and share data. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. So for the colleagues from INESC, and we have 3 minutes, I will ask you the same question, and it would be the parts that you have described are small parts inside a bigger project, and I'd like you to explain a little bit better what is the impact of what you've been doing in those projects. And also, if you could add something about what you feel is the mood about data sharing in the areas that you are working on in Portugal.
Thank you, Antonio. So first of all, of course, that the ATE project is service and product driven from the beginning. So in terms of delivering value, the companies itself that enrolled into the project had already rolling expectations and rolling products going on. So when they joined to create alliances with other partners that would otherwise be there just commercial competitors. So that was a barrier that was broken from the beginning. Particularly at our case, we wanted to provide here digital platforms and services that would first unlock them on the data usage and try to break that barrier. Or should we exchange our data? Should we make it available? Should we trade it by others? And so the core idea is that we would facilitate the creation of services such as we did a platform that we have provided. And I believe that we were successful in that dimension. Okay, so we have already created several data ecosystems, namely using the data spaces and Gaia-X services in order for the data to become exchangeable, but most importantly, to create the notion and the awareness of the data market. So data has value, but that value is not only intrinsic to the companies themselves, okay? And by sharing it with others, of course, with anonymization and all cybersecurity strategies on top of that, companies can interchange them and can have that common benefit. So I believe that we were successful on that side, and we will continue to do that after the project. The project will end, of course. Maybe,
Cesar? So this project that I have tried to explain is being led by CITEV, which is the Portuguese Technological Center for the industry. So it's it's the entity that has the more knowledge and that specifies the different strategies, in this case, the digitalization for the sector. When we started this project, we were very afraid because we were putting on the same table, like I explained, 5 different companies that were competing among themselves, producing the same, more or less the same ERP software for the textile sector, and we were very afraid. But in the end, after that initial phase, we started to be very effective. And in fact, the committee that we have selected for addressing the semantic interoperability, it has representatives from all of these ICT companies, and the mood for data sharing was always great. So they always saw much of value on connecting their own ERP software, and so that first barrier suddenly it was removed from our side, and that was very good, and that has been the most successful aspect in the project. The other thing, but for data sharing, this is not enough, the technical part. Most important, we have to come up with a business model that convinces the textile companies for which they work to be involved in a data space. And it is here that this notion of strategic alliance has been detailed. So this is the thing that we are now focusing more and thinking more, because if we don't come up with the right business model, and the right business model for us is something that is mainly supported by these ICT companies that will have to be the agents of this new organization, so that when a textile company enters into the data space, it enters with the support of an ICT company that is on this new organization. And that's the thing that now we are very concentrated, and let's hope that in March, April, we have more news about this.
Okay, so thank you. So now we are almost 2 minutes on the red semaphore, so we're going to stop here. So give them a warm applause, and let's go for the next session. Thank you, guys.